Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Tyler Simone, and you are watching Reading in Black. Welcome to my BookTube channel. If this is your first time clicking on a video of mine, welcome to my channel. This is Reading in Black. I am Tyler Simone, and I just hit 1,000 subscribers. So I have to start off with a huge thank you to all of my subscribers. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy you found me. I'm happy that you've decided to stick around as long as you have, and I'm excited that there are hopefully some of you who are new, who have never saw me before, who hopefully want to subscribe to my YouTube channel by the end of this video. I've been away for a little bit. I usually post videos on Tuesdays. I took a little bit of a break, to be honest with you. I needed it. But anyways, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy you're here. Let's talk about this book. So today, I'm going to be talking about a book by the name of You Are Your Best Thing by Tarana Burke and Brene Brown. That's Dr. Brene Brown. I don't know if you guys have heard of this book. I don't see anybody else on BookTube talking about this book, which I'm super surprised about because, hello, Tarana Burke is the founder, the creator of the Me Too movement, and Brene Brown is just Brene Brown. She is amazing. She's a researcher, a professor, a lecturer. She is everything, and they teamed up on this book. It's not just any old book. This is an anthology, which is a collection of poems or essays. In this case, it's a collection of essays written by influential people in the Black community, some of which you may have seen before. You probably haven't seen many of them before, but that's okay. They're all amazing in their own way, but it's a collection of essays on Black shame and the Black experience as a whole, really. Let's start by talking about why this book is important to begin with. This book is important because it's very personal. It's from the Black perspective about the Black experience. And just so you guys know, the Black experience is very vast. We're all very different, and so to have a book full of essays on the Black experience is unheard of. One of the things that Brene and Tarana wanted to make sure that this book did was to create a space for Black people to be vulnerable and to tell their own stories, and not surface level stories that we may hear of about discrimination and other things that Black people face. These are things that we know exist. But the book aims to go deeper and tell the stories that we never tell anyone, to reveal the things that we often hide from the rest of society. So it really is a true look into the Black experience. If you ever wondered what that was like, you gotta read the book. For an activist as big as Tarana Burke to team up with a doctor like Brene Brown, it's genius. Brene Brown is not just any researcher, okay? If you didn't know who Brene Brown was before this video, I'm gonna let you know. She is a researcher who really focuses on vulnerability, authenticity, courage, and most importantly, shame. Tarana Burke is an activist. She's been an activist all of her life, specifically for women. She created the Me Too movement, which aims to really showcase just how often sexual assault and sexual harassment happens. And so for the two of them to team up, it's just genius. The introduction to the book is literally a conversation between Tarana and Brene about the book and the idea of the book. I loved that Tarana was honest about the fact that while she loves Brene and the work that she does, she has had problems seeing herself in the work, seeing how what it is that Brene is saying or teaching applies to her as a Black person. That's literally why the two of them together is so perfect. You're combining the Black experience with this element of shame, which is so prevalent in the Black experience. With this collection of essays, vulnerability was the goal. They wanted this book to be a safe space for Black people to be vulnerable, because oftentimes our vulnerability is erased, or we're treated as if we shouldn't be vulnerable, or being vulnerable is unsafe. And so this was supposed to be a safe space for that. Brene says, it's not like if you're Black, you don't need vulnerability to experience joy, belonging, intimacy, and love. It's that we've created a culture that makes it unsafe for you to be vulnerable. I personally agree with Tarana when she says that she hasn't read many books about the Black experience that gets past some of the first layer stuff and really gets into the heart work. She says, I just want us to see ourselves in this differently, to see our insides, the parts that we don't want to show people, the parts that we don't talk about often, the parts that we feel we have to cover and hide and keep away from the world in order to survive, in order to exist. I definitely don't want to spoil all the essays for you, but I will tell you that one of my favorite essays so far is by Austin Channing Brown, who is a media producer and a writer, so she's pretty influential in the media world. But she talks about foreboding joy and why Black people forebode joy and how we do it. When someone forebodes joy, they are pretty much waiting for the happiness to be over with, and in doing that, you don't live in the moment. One way that Black people forebode joy is by rehearsing tragedy. And I think that that comes from all of the terrible situations that we see happening all over the world to Black people, and things that have maybe happened to us in the past. You start to rehearse bad things happening. You prepare yourself for bad things happening, and not everybody in the world has to do that. Not everybody in the world has to have a conversation with their son or daughter about what they should do if they get pulled over, and trying to make sure that they remain calm and do whatever it is so that they survive that situation. And so because of that, they rehearse bad things happening. To me, foreboding joy could also mean not living a fun-filled life. That is not in the book. That's just my personal opinion. I do think that in the Black community, we're kind of made to feel inadequate and like we don't belong. Some Black people tend to stay where they're at, and they don't go on to live fun-filled lives, and they don't go on to try harder than what it is that they are told that they can amount to. This is not all Black people. I'm just saying that I think that it happens. And I honestly think that that is a way of foreboding joy. It is feeling like you don't deserve it. It's questioning whether you're worthy of being happy and living a joyful life. And it's terrible. It's not necessarily their fault. When people feel that way, it's not necessarily their fault. It's ingrained in us. It's shoved down our throats for years, since birth, pretty much. And so not all Black people are strong enough to say, I can do whatever it is I want. I'm gonna talk however I want. I'm gonna dress however I want, and go out into the world and try to achieve all of their wildest dreams. A lot of us do not. I'm not gonna say most of us. I don't know how many of us do or don't, but while all human beings make their own decisions, you can't excuse the fact that racism plays a huge part in all of this. Racism is the thief of joy. Even when it's not happening to a Black person directly, there is the thought that it could happen at any time. And I see what Austin was talking about in her essay about the fact that we live a lot of our life knowing that racism is there. It's silent, but it's there. And we know that it's there. But the thing is, we have to live our life regardless. We cannot sit inside the house all of our life, not go after anything because we were born Black. But racism and the inability to avoid it is absolutely the thief of joy. Ooh, also, Something else that I loved, I'm gonna read a little piece from the essay by Tanya Denise Fields. This one is called Dirty Business. She says, joy, happiness, health, safety, love, and abundant community are inherent. You don't have to perform or do anything for anyone to get them. Imagine if we lived in a world in which this narrative was the one instilled in us instead of the capitalist, anti-Black one that roots us in lack, shame, guilt, and insecurity. Basically to say that you don't have to do anything to get joy and love and to be happy and to feel safe and to be healthy. You don't need to look a certain way. You don't need to have a certain job. Everybody deserves those things right off the bat just for being a human being. I don't know if you guys have heard of the word respectability or respectability politics, but respectability is basically appear or to be perceived in a way that is in alliance with what works for society. And respectability definitely seems to be an issue that Black people encounter on an everyday basis, to be honest with you, because respectability has everything to do with race and color and your socioeconomic status, your job. This essay is called My Head is a Part of My Body and Other Notes on Crazy. This essay is all about the fear of being killed by a white doctor. And the reason why this essay I feel was definitely needed is because this is not something that people write about. I'm sure we've all heard a story or two or three or four about Black people not being cared for in hospitals and not being treated the way that they should be treated. And so this fear of being killed by a doctor or by a white doctor specifically is definitely real for Black people. It says, rarely do I admit that I am indeed horrified of hospitals and terrified of white doctors. Some of this has to do with the fact that I've always been treated like a poor big Black man, even when I was a poor young Black boy. I love that it talks about this fear of doctors, and I started to connect the dots. I was thinking, okay, there's a fear of doctors, which means you're probably not going to go to the doctors that often, which means things are going to possibly get worse health-wise and you don't even know it because you haven't gotten checked, which leads to unknown illnesses and prolonged illnesses, and it leads to not so good things. That was just my brain at the moment while reading this, and it made me think about that. And that's the greatest part about reading other people's experiences firsthand, because, well, I'm Black, but reading about other people's Black experience is not my experience. Black people are very different, and if you don't get anything from this book, you will at least walk away hopefully understanding that we are all so different, just like everybody else. We are not the same. We all go through different things. We all also grew up in different areas and different environments. We talk different. We act different. We were raised differently. All of our backgrounds are completely different, and we've gone through experiences that shaped us into who we are today. I didn't expect to buy this book, but I'm super glad that I did. Something told me to get it. I feel very seen. I feel like someone understands me. Okay. I feel like I'm learning a lot actually about Black people still. I'm Black and I'm learning about Black people. Doesn't get any better than that. Also, this book was written for anybody who is interested in the Black experience, and I'm recommending it to all of you. But Tarana Burke did say that she hopes that this book lands in the hands and the hearts of Black people so that we can feel seen and heard, and like the things that we're experiencing are not our experiences alone, and that we do have a lot of similarities, but also to show that Black people are extremely different and we all go through different things. If you haven't picked this book up, please do if you get the chance. Highly recommend it. I am moving through it pretty quickly. I think it's because it's a collection of essays and they're all very different, so it keeps me very intrigued. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you for being here and sticking through to the very end. If you are not subscribed, please do. I would love for you to join the channel. As I said, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm happy to have you all. Follow me on Instagram at reading.n.black, and I'll see you soon. Bye.